Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vision Computer Programming webinar on community outreach, visitors, and other youth served. Thank you for being here. My name is Veronica. Please note that for the duration of the webinar, everyone has been muted, but feel free to submit questions via your chat tool on the webinar toolbar. You can either submit questions or chat messages. Also, feel free to submit questions that are off topic. I'll be answering those later by email or phone calls. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm here at the member tracking main menu. So the first step to tracking your visitors is setting up a new visitor type or status. So to do that, we'll go to Organization Information and Standards. It's asking me to type in my name and click I understand. Be sure that you put your full name in here, and it is your name, not just the person you're logged in as. This area is a sensitive area of the program where you set up the rules and drop-downs for your program. Also, this screen is explaining that if you are at a unit that imports your data back to the admin office, that you may not be able to edit this area of the program. If you're confused about whether you can or cannot go into OrgInfo, you can always call us and we'll find out and let you know. So I'm going to click I understand. This is going to take me into the main org information screen. Now, there is more than one way to track visitors, so I'm going to go over the very first way, which is to actually add your visitors in as if they're members, but we're going to make some visitor types and visitor statuses. So the very first thing is to go to the tab at the top called Member Status. I notice here that we have a visitor type. If your program doesn't already have this in here, you can go to the blank line at the bottom and just start to type in visitor, or you can do community outreach, whatever you want to call this. You're going to make a new type. We like to use visitor here. I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard a couple times to undo that. Notice here I'm on the visitor status. At the bottom, we also have a way to change your text color and background color if you want to use the quick entry warning. So you may be getting a quick entry warning, a big red screen when you check kids in that are non-active. You can also have that screen pop up for your visitors if this checkbox is on that says QE warning. And you may also come down here to the bottom and change the color of the text on the screen. And you can change the background color. So instead of it being red for your suspended members, you can ask for a blue screen. That way you'll know that this person is a visitor when they check in. All right, so we've got our visitor status. Now let's go to the Member Types tab at the top. And be sure, again, that you've got a visitor type, or you could call it community outreach, or whatever you would like to call your visitors. And again, you're just going to go to the blank line at the bottom and begin to type. All right, now that you've got your status and your type of visitor, now we can go directly to members, and we can add in our visitors. So I'm just going to select to add in a new member. Let's go ahead and add in. Let's say that this person is a visitor. I'm going to add them in as the first in family, just like you would a member. Here, though, if I click OK, you could see which fields are required. So in my database, I'm only required to put in an ethnicity and a member number. But you may also want to get some basic information, like their ethnicity and date of birth. As much as you want to keep on them, it's totally up to you. Down here, I can calculate a new member number. You may want to go ahead and assign a prefix, which is this box before the number, of V. So this member number, or this visitor's number, is going to be V74, and V will designate this member number as being a visitor type. Now on the right, you'll notice that I already have a status of visitor and a member type of visitor. So you can hit the drop-down and pick them off the list. Now my visitor pass, and I'm giving this community outreach member, I can assign an entry and expiration date for this person's membership. So if they're entering today, let's say that I would like them to expire only in about a week. So let's say my visitors passes are only good for a week at a time. I'm going to give them an expiration date of next Friday. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And now I've entered my visitor in. Again, you can enter in any additional information that you may have collected on your visitor. I'm just going to put in their names and their gender, and give them a member number and assign them some dates. If you'd like, you can also print member ID cards for your visitors. So you can say anybody with a membership type of visitor, I would like to print an ID card for. And you can even set up a special card up here just for visitors to include only the information that you'd like on those cards. And then you can preview and print those cards just for visitors. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you can always call us here and we can give you further instructions on those cards. All right, now that I've got my visitors entered, I've already entered a few previous to our webinar, so I have a couple in there. Let's go ahead and go look at our activities. Now that I've got my visitors entered as if they are members, and then you can come in and just start checking them into activities. So they can attend already existing activities, or you can schedule special activities. Like you can see, I've got something called a food program here. Let's say I'd like to schedule something specific. Many clubs do this different ways, so your visitors can attend regular activities, or you could, let's close and go back into organization information and standards. I can add in a classification called community outreach. And now if I have special activities, so if my visitors aren't just attending these regular activities I have scheduled, let's say I have a special community outreach program. Like I've heard of something called NBAA. And I can pick this one as a community outreach program and add it. Now I can close out of here and I'm going to go into activities and I can schedule that activity to occur. And let's say that this activity happens all year round or all month around. Let's do it till 5 p.m., but it only happens on Saturdays. So I'm going to go ahead and turn everything off and make this a Saturday, and I'm going to run it through the end of the month, the last Saturday in the month, and I'm going to schedule it. Now, on Saturdays, let's say that everybody's going to come in and meet for the NBAA community outreach, and they're going to help me rebuild a part of our building. You could even schedule that specific event. So let's say this was a building meeting or something of that nature. You can go ahead and schedule that specifically. So really, keep in mind, however you want the reports to come back out. If you need more specific information, then be sure you're scheduling your activities with those specific events. If you need to know, some clubs really would like to get age, ethnicity, gender reports on their visitors, demographic information. If you want to get that stuff, then you have to type it in. I did have a question come in that says, what if we don't have their names? We just know the amount of visitors that day. How can we enter that in? I will be getting to that. That is our second way to track visitors. But keep in mind, a lot of Boys and Girls Club reports, they want unduplicated counts, which means they want to know how many members showed up all week, or how many visitors or community outreach people showed up during the week. They don't want to know how many visits. They don't want to count. They want to know how many people. And if you want to track how many people, then you do have to have a unique identifier for each of those visitors, which is adding them in as a member and giving them some kind of a membership number. That way, the program will know that that person was the same person that showed up all week. Let's say that you scheduled an activity that occurs Monday through Friday 5 times, and the same person came every single day. If we have them entered in as if they're a member and they've got a unique identifier like that ID number, if they came Monday through Friday, on Friday you would know that that was just one person that showed up 5 times. If you don't put in their name or add them in as a member and you just want to keep a count, then each day you would say, this person showed up, I have 1 visitor, Tuesday I have 1 visitor, Wednesday I have 1 visitor, Thursday 1, Friday 1. And then if you get a count at the end of the week, you will have had 5 visits. You will not know that that was just one person that came to your club 5 times. All you'll know is that you had 5 visits. That is what's called a duplicated count, where you would just know how many visits, how many times this person. We won't know if it was one person or 5 different people. So for most of the BGCA reports, they would like unduplicated visitor counts, where you can actually tell them this one person came 5 times. So anyway, if you don't have the names, I will go over that here in a minute. But right now we're looking at the first scenario where we do have their names, so we've entered them in like they're members. So we scheduled these activities to occur. now we can actually go in either to Quick Entry, and we can set our date forward. Let's say that this is this Saturday, and let's do the 23rd, last Saturday, and I've scheduled this NVAA. So now I can check in some of my visitors. Remembered I put Shelly Smith in. Notice we're getting that nice big blue screen that's letting us know that this person is a visitor because we set that up in OregonFo. And here I can go ahead and proceed and check the person in. So I've checked my visitors in. You may also go to your attendance calendar. And on the top left, you can pick your community outreach program. Now notice on the left we have all of our members, everybody who ever typed in. But I know that this is just a community outreach program, and I only want to check people in who are visitors. So I can open my USC up here on the top right, and I can pick my membership status or my member type of visitor, because we gave all of our new community outreach members visitor types. And if I continue now, we'll only see on the left my visitors. So it'll be a lot easier for me to go in and check these people in to my program by just typing in X's, or I could double click and actually go in and assign an in time, so I know that this this visitor came in at 8, and I can close out and now I've checked this visitor in. So this is another way you can do it in Quick Entry, or you can do it here on the attendance calendar. So I'm just going to put in a couple of attendance here. And notice up here on the top left, you can go between any activity you want, and if you've got your visitors selected up here on the USD, they're the only ones that will show up. So if you know you had a lot of visitors attended soccer, you could pick those and just enter in the attendance. You can also backdate and go to last month and check them in. Up here on the top right, you can also close the USD to get everyone back. And then lastly, just like members, you can go in and select their name up here at the top, so we can pick one of our visitors and go to the Calendars and Activities tab. And here you can see any activity that they may have here, any attendance. And you can also type in attendance directly on the screen as well if you need to. All right, so that's the nitty-gritty of adding in visitors and checking them in. So now let's look at some ways to get reports back out. So let's go to reports. Now, if you set up a visitor type, this is a good question. Someone just asked me, is this going to change your total member count? Be sure now, if you've added visitors in, that when you go to run a member report, you're going to go to member types, and you're going to mark everybody except for visitors if you want to get reports on your members. But if you want to do a visitor report, then you'll only select visitor. So it is a little bit of a change when you run reports. You're going to have to be sure that you unselect the visitor type here if you want only member reports. That way you don't get your visitors into your member counts. So you can differentiate between those. So let's say that you want a list of names or a total number here. We can just go here and pick the member type of visitor and continue and preview. And now here is a list of all my visitors. And you can pick those visitors on any report. So if somebody needs to get, let's say you are tracking age, ethnicity, gender, you could come here and run an age, gender report for just your visitors by picking membership status and continuing. And then when you preview the report, it'll only be those visitors. So I know most of the reports you might be running are going to be attendance or activity reports. So let's look at the very first activity report. And now again, I'm going to leave it on all members in the system here, but I'm going to go to our member type of visitor so that I only get this attendance for just the visitors. And now I can have my date range up here at the top. And I can select all the activities or just certain activities. And when I preview, now you can see I have attendance. So let's look here at my community food program. It was scheduled 21 times this month. I had 7 visitors attend. Those 7 visitors checked in 49 times. And so I get a nice summary for each activity under each classification that I have. And again, it's just for visitors, and that's because I picked the member type visitor here on the Universal Selection Engine. Another cool thing you could do is if you wanted to do some kind of attendance sheets. So you could do weekly or you can do daily. I'm just going to pick the visitor type. So you can even make visitor sign-in sheets. And you can just double-click on anything here that you want to show, and I'm going to show a barcode and preview. And now you can see here's only my visitors, so they can sign in and out, and then at the end of the day, you can use the barcodes to scan them into activities yourself. So just keep in mind any report you have available for your members, you'll have available for your visitors. And the only thing that makes it a difference between members and visitors is coming here to the Universal Selection Engine and picking that visitor member type. All right, so let's close out of here. Another way that you can track visitors, this is a good way if you want to track attendance to see how many visitors are actually showing up to the club. But let's say, I'm going to go to groups. Let's say that you have a lot of visitors and they are, they may or may not come in and attend. But you want to just track how many visitors you had during the month. You can actually add some groups. So you could do community outreach for January 2010. And then you can continue to add the groups for each month. Let's make one for October. So now I've got my October community outreach program. So if you enter them in as visitors, then you can come here and just double-click on each of their names to move them. So let's say now I know that Shelley, now I know that Shelley is a visitor currently for October, but if I look back in January, she was not a visitor in January. I can just say we had 3 visitors in January, my very small club. So this is a great way to get historical information. You know, if you're, depending on how you're handling those community outreach people, if they're just coming in, you know, and signing up for a week, for a pass, or for the month, this way you can see. This is good too. Let's say I think your end goal is to make your visitors members. So let's say community outreach, Shelley is a visitor in October, so she's in our October visitor group. But let's say in November she decides, or parents decide to have her join the club. Then you will come here and pick her record. And now you can actually change her, her status to active and her member type. You can re-enroll her here for the month of November through the end of your school year, and make her a school-only type or whatever type, and close out of here. And then you can take away the V and just give her a regular member number and fill out all of the tabs here with her information. Now she's joined the club, so there's really no way at this point to know if she was a visitor or not last month because she's now a member. But if you're setting up groups by month, then you'll always know that in October of 2010, she was a visitor at that time because it's going to save her here forever unless you actually come here and remove her physically. So this is a good way. And you may opt to do both. You might want to go ahead and add them in as members and track attendance and also set up groups. That way you get the history here for each month at a time. So those are a couple ways to track your visitors or community outreach members if you want that unduplicated count. That is, I believe it probably, somebody just asked me, so if there's a visitor, you don't have to add their date of birth. I think that has to do with your settings in your own system. You may require date of birth, and if you do, then yeah, you'll need it. A good way to know what you've required is either go to members and add a new member. You can do a test person and first and family, and if you hit OK here, whatever turns red is what you have required at your club. Or if you're out at the main menu and you go to local station settings, if you go to local settings and then at the bottom open customize fields on member form, here you could see ethnicity. There is a required checkbox. Date of birth is a required checkbox. So if these are on, then it is a required field. and this is something you guys set up at your club. So you could see in my database I don't have a whole lot of stuff that's actually required. So that's why I did not have to fill it out when I added them in. So now that we know how to add them in for that unduplicated count, again, that's how we'll know that it was just one person that showed up every day this week and not 5 different people, because we've given them a unique identifier. We've added them in as an actual member with a visitor type. So somebody asked me earlier, if you recall, what if we don't have their names? What if we just know the amount of visitors that day? How can we enter that in? So let's go here back to our activity calendar. And I went ahead and scheduled on the 30th our fall festival. We're going to have a big fall festival at my club. And I want to know how many non-members I served. Now for my fall festival, it wasn't very easy for me to get everybody to stop and fill out their names so that I can add them in as visitors. I just happened to know that I sold 250 tickets. So I know I had 250 people that attended this fall festival. So all I want to do is track that number. Up here, if you, again, where I'm at in the system is I went to activities, and I found my fall festival here on my activity calendar, and I'm going to double click on it, and that's going to open up the second screen of session details, and on the top right are other members and non-members served. So if I put in my number of 250 up here, I sold 250 tickets to the community. Now I can close out of here, and that number is saved, and I will get that number back out on reports. So you could come here and just double-click on the activity, and you can just type in a number up here. Now again, keep in mind, let's say that you're tracking your visitors this way, and you've got this food program, again, Monday through Friday. You know, today I had 5 visitors that came, and now I'm going to save my changes, yes. Give me changes activity. Would you like to save the changes? Yes. Okay. And now I can come into the next food program for Tuesday, and I'm going to put in another 5 visitors. Now, I don't know, because I'm only tracking a number, if these are the same 5 people that showed up yesterday, or if now I don't know if I've had 10 visitors or just the 5 same people came twice. So that's the issue with doing it this way. So this may be a really good way. What I'm doing right now, putting in 5 each day, but this scenario may be better to add them in as a member with a visitor type and actually check them into the activity. That way we know that it's not the same 5 people that came all week. You know, we actually had 20 visitors, or we may have just had the same 5 people show up Monday through Friday. You won't know unless they're typed in as a visitor. But, you know, for the scenario where we just had a big fall festival, or you just have a big sports event and you just need to know how many people showed up to your big event, this is a great way to just keep that number in here, because you really don't need an unduplicated count, because it's not going to keep occurring. You know, you're not going to have a fall festival every Saturday, so you might not need to know. But if it's something that occurs regularly, you may want to consider actually entering them in as a visitor. So let's go ahead and run that activity report one more time. And again, I'm going to pick my member type of visitor and continue. And I'm going to look at all month, all activities. I'm going to preview my report. Now you can see here on this report, community outreach, general attendance. Here's my fall festival. And if you'll recall, I put in non-member visits. I had 250. So let's see if I can highlight that number here. There's that 250 non-member visits that I put in directly on the activity. So again, I don't know if those 250, if this one person, you know, I don't know who they are or how many times they showed up. I just know I had 250 people attend this event. And so here right above it, I'm going to highlight it in yellow as well, is the 25 people in my community food program. So if you'll recall, I opened up Monday, I put in 5 people. Tuesday, I put in 5. So every day of the week, I had 5 visitors come in. So now when I get my report, it's telling me I had 25 visitors to the community food program. And again, I don't know if they're the same 5 people. But up here now, when I actually checked the visitors into the MBAA program, if you'll recall, we went to quick entry, and we actually entered those people in as visitors. So I know that instead of just having 20 visits, I had 20 visits, but they were only 8 people. Or down here, if you're just typing 25 in, we won't know if that was just 8 people showing up or if it was truly 25 visitors. So it's up to you how you would like to handle that. You know, it's your database and your reports that you're going to, you know, be getting back out on these visitors. So, we recommend adding them in just like their members and tracking them and using that visitor type to get your reports. And then if you have a big fall festival or sports event, then you can go in and just add that number in if you don't have their names. All right, so let me see if there's anything I missed here, or I'm going to check for more questions. If you guys have more, we only have about 5 minutes left, so feel free to submit all those good questions that you might have. Also, I'm going to close out of here. If you recall, we made some of those groups. You could also, if you choose to set up groups, you can run these reports as well by group. So I can come here and run a report on only my Community Outreach October 2010 members. And I'll just select my group for that month, and then you can also get any of these reports back out on that group that you've set up. So if you've chosen to set up groups and put them in groups, here's that same information, but only for that Community Outreach group for October. So I could get really specific with those groups. And again, remember, we get this universal selection engine before any report. So any of these activity reports or calendars reports, if you need to know numbers of days in attendance, also needs member reports. If you want to do mailing labels, if you want to do a mail out to all your visitors, you could come here and either pick your group or your member type, however you've decided to do it. And then when you run these mailing labels, you can actually send stuff out. We also have in procedures a data export tool. So if you are the kind of club that's taking in visitor applications, so you actually get some information on them, you could come here and select, just open the USE and pick your visitors, and then you could export a list of their names and email addresses and do a mass email to your visitors. So there's a lot of things you can do for visitors if you are tracking their information. So again, it's another reason why we recommend adding them in, but really the main reason is to have that unique identifier to get those unduplicated numbers. All right, so lastly, I don't have any questions coming through, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you our website. If you go to visioncps.com, on the left you can select Quick Tips, and in the middle you can pick the program you're using, like Member Tracking System. And here you can scroll down and see a list of all of our instructions. We even have one here on Other Use Served. So if you want, you can come here and print this out and just follow along. Also on that main Quick Tip page at the top is the click here for the webinars. So you can scroll down and all of our recorded webinars are listed here. You can click on them and view them. So if you want to review this information later or share it with a coworker, we should have this one up by end of day tomorrow. And then you can come here and just watch these at your leisure. Also, I will go ahead and leave the webinar tool open for another 5 minutes. So if you think of more questions, feel free to submit them, and I will still be receiving those questions. All right, so at this time, I think we've covered everything on visitors. I thank all of you for joining us today. I hope you got some good information, and feel free to send me any feedback you have on topics or anything regarding webinars that you'd like to see in the future. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.